So the legend goes that our next performer never performed before or was in a play or anything like that before becoming a theater major, but rather was told to become a theater major in a dream. I don't know if that legend is true, but I choose to believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, Caitlynn Silvius.
Nathaniel and Leo raced through the dark streets of the marketplace, their arms full of bread and fruit. Just a stone's throw away from the stand they had looted, they turned a corner to rest, but before they could catch their breath, right in front of them, a huge figure loomed, his body and face in shadow. But suddenly the comforting smells of fresh cut wood and limestone and plaster. Potter, the boys cried. I don't have to tell you boys you've done wrong. You already know, their father said. But father, we're so hungry. The king doesn't pay you enough for even one loaf of bread each day, Nathaniel cried. You have stolen from our brothers, our fellows. This is the third time this week you have stolen from Mr. Tonus. Now go to him, admit this is the third time, and offer him any labor he needs for the next 3 days. And so they went. Nathaniel the older and Leo the younger were inseparable. And although they did get into their fair share of trouble, all the people of Corio loved them, and they saw it as a group responsibility to raise the boys. But during this time, the villagers went hungry for days at a time. All the while, a gluttonous and greedy king proclaimed to be the richest man in all the land. And it must have been true. For the king had hired Nathaniel and Leo's father, Potter, to build an enormous vault to house all of his gold. It would be full of booby traps, and it would have impenetrable walls so that no man would gain access to the gold. Potter had worked 7 years now on the vault, all by himself. The king refused to have anyone help Potter for fear that they too would learn the traps inside the vault. And so Potter worked alone. Many years passed, and Nathaniel and Leo grew into young men. But the people of Corio continued to suffer. The boys searched for ways to help their fellows. They raised cattle in secret fields where the king's men couldn't find them, and journeyed to faraway lands to trade goods. The king's men kept a careful eye on all of the villagers so that no man would become prosperous. It was the king's top priority to remain the richest man in all the land. It was not until Nathaniel and Leo had families of their own that Potter finally finished the vault. After 15 years of strenuous labor and aging, Potter had become very frail. He was so frail, in fact, that the king was not even worried he would live long enough to leak the secrets of the vault. And so mercifully, the king let Potter live. And he must have been right. For shortly after Potter finished the vault, he fell very ill. He was confined to his house all day and all night, and his only visitors were his 2 sons. One night, Potter called his sons to his bedside. He explained to them how he had worked hard all of his life and had never been rewarded for his labor. But just then, Potter realized that the ultimate reward would be knowing his sons would never be in need. And so Potter began explaining all the secrets of the vault, all of the hidden traps, starting with the secret stone Potter had intentionally left loose so that one might wiggle it free, climb inside, and gain access to the gold. Nathaniel and Leo spent all day the next day plotting and planning. And when night fell, they darted across the palace lawns, edged their way along the walls of the vault, counting the stones until the secret stone. They wiggled it free, and Leo climbed in after Nathaniel. Together, they navigated through all the traps successfully, stuffing their packs with gold. And on the way out, Leo dodged arrows and leapt over giant gaps. When suddenly, he realized he was alone. Leo rushed back through the vault, careful to avoid all of the traps, searching for his brother when he saw Nathaniel on all fours in a pool of his own blood. Leo collapsed to his knees, and Nathaniel explained to him what he must do. The wound was fatal. They hadn't much time before the guards of the king himself found them both. And so, Leo must cut off Nathaniel's head to protect their identity, so that the king may not know the faces of his thieves, for the protection of their families, for Potter. Leo raced through the dark streets of the marketplace, his brother's head in his arms, struggling to keep his body balanced atop his feet, hearing his pack clinking and jingling with gold. He resented the sound, and if it hadn't been for Nathaniel's last words, he would have tossed the whole pack to the sea. All the while, Leo raced on, and just a stone's throw away from the palace gates, he turned a corner to rest and collapsed, gasping and weeping. But this time there was no shadowy figure that appeared. Potter was not there to tell him to return his steel. And Leo knew he must press on. Although Nathaniel's request had been enormously difficult, it had been for the better, for the protection of their family. The next morning, the king, although bewildered to find a headless body in his vault, was furious that there was gold missing. He sent out a bounty for the thief, dead or alive. But Leo continued to outsmart the king each night until the entire vault was empty. The people of Corio regarded Leo very highly and soon gained the courage to overthrow the greedy king and elect Leo to the throne. King Leonardo was a very just ruler, and the people of Corio were pleased during his rule. Most importantly, Potter got to see his family and his village prosper before he died. The entire village remembered Nathaniel's sacrifice, and to this day, the village of Corio remains the most prosperous and content in all the land.